Claire had been married for 7 years. And for 7 years, she had been trying to figure out what she was doing wrong. Because no matter how carefully she spoke, no matter how gently she raised a concern, no matter how much she changed herself to keep the peace, it was never enough. He would twist her words, make her feel crazy for feeling what she felt, tell her she was too sensitive, too emotional, too much. And then, in the same breath, tell her she was not enough. She walked on eggshells in her own home. She stopped seeing her friends because it was easier than explaining where she had been. She stopped wearing certain things, stopped laughing too loudly, stopped taking up space. She thought if she could just be calmer, quieter, more agreeable, things would get better. They did not get better. Because what Claire did not yet understand was that she was not dealing with a difficult husband. She was dealing with a narcissist, and the rules are completely different. Today, I want to talk about the psychology that actually works, not to play games, not to manipulate, but to protect yourself and reclaim the woman you were before this marriage started shrinking you. What is narcissism? Before we talk about what works, we need to understand what we are dealing with. A narcissistic husband is not simply selfish or unkind on bad days. Narcissistic personality is a deeply rooted pattern of behavior that includes an inflated sense of self-importance, a constant need for admiration, a complete lack of empathy, and an ability to manipulate others to maintain control and supply. That last word matters. Supply. A narcissist needs something from you every single day. Your attention, your reaction, your emotional energy, your self-doubt, your attempts to fix things. All of it feeds something in them that never gets full. And the moment you understand this, everything changes. Because when you know what they need, you know exactly what to stop giving them. Psychology move 1. The gray rock method. This is the single most powerful psychological tool a woman can use when dealing with a narcissist husband. Here's how it works. A narcissist feeds on your emotional reactions. Your tears give them power. Your anger gives them power. Your attempts to explain yourself give them power. Even your silence, if it is loaded with hurt, gives them power. The gray rock method removes the supply entirely. You become as boring and unremarkable as a gray rock. When he tries to provoke you, you respond with the flattest, most neutral response possible. He says something designed to upset you. You say, okay, or I see, or all right. Not cold, not dramatic, just utterly unremarkable. No tears, no arguments, no long explanations of how his words made you feel. Just, okay. This confuses a narcissist profoundly because they expect a reaction. They need a reaction. And when they do not get one, they have nothing to work with. A woman named Diane started using this after years of explosive arguments with her husband. She told me, the first time I said okay and walked away, he followed me around the house for 20 minutes trying to get me to react. And I just kept being boring. It was the most powerful I had felt in years. Psychology move 2. Stop explaining. Stop defending. Stop engaging. Jade. If you have ever been in a conversation with a narcissist husband where you found yourself explaining the same thing for the 14th time and somehow ending up apologizing, this is why. Narcissists use your explanations against you. Every time you justify yourself, you are handing them new material, new angles to twist, new ways to make you feel that you are the problem. JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, explain. Stop doing all four. When he says, "You are overreacting," you do not say, "I am not overreacting, and here is why." You say, "I hear you see it that way," and then you stop talking. When he criticizes your parenting, your appearance, your intelligence, you do not defend yourself. You say, "That is your opinion," and you move on. This feels almost impossible at first, because everything in you wants to be understood, wants to be seen as reasonable, wants him to finally admit that you are not what he says you are. But here is the painful truth. That admission is never coming. And every time you try to get it, you give him exactly what he wants. Your energy, your self-doubt, your continued engagement. Stop engaging. Stop explaining. And watch what happens to his power. Psychology move 3. Reclaim your identity outside the marriage. A narcissist husband works very hard, consciously or unconsciously, to make you his entire world. Not because he loves you deeply, but because a woman with no outside identity is a woman who is completely dependent on his approval. And dependency is control. He may criticize your friendships, make you feel guilty for spending time away from home, create conflict every time you pursue something for yourself. This is not love. This is isolation strategy. Reclaiming your identity is one of the most psychologically powerful things you can do. This means maintaining friendships even when it is inconvenient, pursuing one interest that is entirely yours, having conversations with people who reflect back to you who you actually are, not who he tells you that you are. A woman named Sophia told me that the turning point in her marriage was the day she went back to her pottery class after 3 years of giving it up. She said, "I remembered who I was before him. And once I remembered, I could not unremember." That memory is power. Psychology move 4. Set consequences, not ultimatums. There's a difference between an ultimatum and a consequence. An ultimatum is emotional. It is reactive. It comes from a place of desperation. A consequence is calm. It is pre-decided. It comes from a place of self-respect. An ultimatum sounds like, "If you do that again, I am leaving." A consequence sounds like, "If that happens again, I will be sleeping in the guest room tonight." Or, "If that continues, I will be taking the children to my mother's for the weekend." Small, calm, specific. And then you follow through. This is where most women lose their power. They state the consequence, he pushes back, she backs down, and he learns that consequences in this house are not real. The follow-through is everything. You do not need to threaten. You do not need to explain. You simply do what you said you would do. Calmly, without drama, without anger. This communicates something that years of arguing never could. That you mean what you say. That you have boundaries, and that those boundaries have teeth. Psychology move 5. Document everything. This one is practical, and it may be the most important of all. Narcissistic abuse is designed to be invisible. It happens in private. It is rarely physical. And because so much of it involves the manipulation of your perception, gaslighting, you will often doubt your own memory of what happened. Start a private journal today. Write down what was said, when it was said, how it made you feel, what happened afterward. Not to build a case for the future, although that record may protect you one day, but because the act of writing it down is the act of refusing to let him rewrite reality. A narcissist's power depends on your uncertainty, on your willingness to question your own memory, on your readiness to believe that maybe you imagined it, maybe you are too sensitive, maybe it was not that bad. Your journal is evidence to yourself that it happened, that you are not imagining it, that your experience is real. This is not about revenge. This is about maintaining your grip on reality in a relationship that is designed to make you lose it. Important truth. I need to say something important here. These psychology moves will help you protect yourself. They will help you reclaim your power and your identity inside this marriage. But they will not change him. Narcissistic personality disorder is deeply resistant to change. It requires intensive professional therapy, sustained over years. And most narcissists never seek it, because in their perception, they are never the problem. What these tools will change is you. And a changed you makes very different decisions. Maybe you find the strength to set firmer boundaries than you ever thought possible. Maybe you discover who you are outside of his perception of you. Maybe you decide that you deserve a different kind of life entirely. Whatever that looks like for you, it starts with reclaiming yourself. And if you are in a situation that feels unsafe, please speak to a professional. A therapist who specializes in narcissistic abuse can give you personalized support that goes far beyond what any video can offer. You deserve that support. Claire, the woman I told you about at the beginning, spent 7 years trying to fix something that was never hers to fix. The day she stopped explaining herself, stopped defending herself, stopped shrinking herself to fit his version of who she was the day she started coming back to herself. She told me recently, I did not recognize the woman I had become. And then slowly, I started recognizing the woman I used to be. That woman is still in you. She did not disappear. She's just waiting for you to stop apologizing for her. Now, I want to try something different in the comments today. Instead of telling me which sign felt familiar, I want you to write one word that describes how you feel right now after watching this. I will see you in the next one.